feedback on. And more recently, the Diabetes UK Disability Living Allowance Toolkit, which encourages parents to write to their MPs to try and make the system a bit more fair than it is at the moment. What we're going to talk about now are the surveys that we've done. We will have full versions of these to circulate after the meeting. So this is kind of an overview of the surveys to give you a flavour of what we've been up to. I just wanted to thank actually Usha, for all her help, particularly with the outcome survey, because we don't have a budget for these, so we've been reliant on the help of network coordinators to set them up on their survey monkeys, and Usha's been brilliant about that. I've also been asked to mention that we're now registered stakeholders with NICE as well. So, the outcome survey was discussed at the last Children and Young People's Diabetes Board meeting, and we were actually asked to look into what outcomes are important to parents. Because as you all know, the main clinical outcome you all look at is HbA1c, and there was this question, what actually do parents think about? It's a difficult concept to get across. We couldn't really go out and just say what health outcomes are important to you, because we weren't at all convinced that families would understand that question. And we didn't want to try to give them examples, because that was like a leading question. So we discussed for quite a long time with our own boards, with other healthcare professionals. We discussed it at the Families Friends for Life conference and amongst ourselves. And in the end, the question we came up with was, what worries you most? And we asked, what worries you most in the short term and the long term? And we asked people to give 3 priorities. We posted the survey on Facebook, and Usha also sent it to all the network coordinators, and some of them sent it on to all the clinics, so we could get to people who weren't on Facebook as well. We had 535 parents, 78 kids to a slightly separately worded survey for them, and a wide range of ages and age of diagnosis, respondents from all regions, and 164 clinics, which was almost kind of amazing. There seemed to be like 1 or 2 from almost every clinic in the country, and some a lot more, obviously. And we said, as I said, in the short term and long term, what worries you most? So it'd be interesting to see if everyone's already got ideas about what the answers would be. I put the 3 priorities for the short term question together as one slide. So this is the short term. There's a lot of different answers. But just to look at the top few, the top one was actually care at school and access to education. Really, really important to parents. But to be fair, had I added together hypos at night, and severe hypos, that would have been massively the winner. It is a big, big worry for parents. So the outcome of their children not going hypo, particularly severely hypo or hypo at night, is really important. And then you've got the 4th one as well, I think is worth mentioning. Psychological and emotional impact. Will my child be happy? Will my child be depressed? How will my child cope with diabetes? HbA1c is here. Control, yeah, it's a good point, but actually that was more people saying swings of highs and lows rather than overall medical control. And just to show you, the first priority was actually hypos at night. So when you see the slides separately, you can see all the priorities, but that's just to be fair. Hypos at night was the first priority. For the long term, complications, massively the winner, I have to say. And most people did actually say complications rather than specifically eyesight or kidneys. It was generally complications, but we've also got quite a big category there of taking care of themselves. And you can see university living alone, which is kind of the same thing, 4th one down. Anxiety about whether their children are actually educated to look after themselves well enough once parents aren't there anymore. And again, the psychological and emotional impact, psychology coming up really important here. And then we had the 78 kids. We probably had 78 answers for the 78 kids, to be honest. So I couldn't do these nice little charts. I did word clouds instead. And I'm sure you've seen these before. The bigger the words, the more often that phrase or a phrase like it, to be fair, came up. Severe hypos, big issue for the children in the short term. Also high blood sugar, exams, similar to the parents really, hypos at night, school, and there's control there as well. But the long term has been a bit of a shock for the people who've seen this, to the extent that I actually went back and checked the data, because I couldn't really believe this phrase that comes up in the middle came up over and over again. So I think that's probably one thing we really have learned that we perhaps didn't realise before. You've got eyesight, you've got complications, but this, not being able to have children, really worried the young people who filled out our survey. I know it's a small sample, but nevertheless, and we've got all sorts of other things, transitions there, having to do it all myself. My children getting diabetes came up quite a lot, and I just wanted to make it clear that was a separate thing that came up. Forgetting stuff, missing out, being a burden. It's very sad, actually. Anyway, that's a whistle-stop tour of our outcome survey, which you can see more detail on. Paula is now going to tell you very briefly about her Glucagon survey.